Bacon and biscuits and chicken and the biscuits with the gravy and the biscuits and the chicken is me. Let's talk about Hatchet 2. This movie came out in 2010. I actually remember going to the mall with my friend at the time. We were like 16, 15 years old. Weren't old enough to buy rated R movies yet. And my friend at the time had a beard, kind of like mine. Not too big, not too like thick or anything. And he had to go to the counter like, yes, I'm 18 years old. Can I purchase this movie, please? And that's how I got this copy that I'm holding right here. Fun little personal story. Not really that interesting, but that's just how I remember this movie. And I remember it being very fun, and it still is. This one is a typical sequel. They double the body count, and it even says, like on the cover, twice the insanity, twice the body count, yeah, twice the intensity, twice the gore. Yep, that's a very, very true statement right there. So, we're going to do a spoiler discussion. This is my second review. This is my On Second Thought review series where I re-review a movie I've already reviewed before. This is another one. So, let's talk about Hatchet 2. So, this movie, like I said, came out in 2010. Once again, written and directed by Adam Green, who has a cameo again in this movie. And this picks up the moment that the last one left off. It starts with Victor Crowley's face, except it looks a little bit different now. Beekler did not return to do the effects in this one, but he returned to be Jack Cracker and to get killed. So, returning characters and continuity. The only thing that is changed in this movie is Danielle Harris is the final girl, the main girl, Marybeth, instead of Tamara Feldman from the first one who played Marybeth. And I think I already said in my last review for Hatchet 1, I prefer Tamara Feldman at playing this character. I like Danielle Harris, but I just would have preferred the cast continuity to stay strong and have her reprise the role once again as Marybeth. But I think behind the scenes, there was like some kind of conflict between Adam Green and Tamara Feldman, some disagreements. I don't know. It's never really been said out loud, so I have no idea what was going on. Creative differences. She was doing something else at the time. But I did hear recently that he was going to hire Danielle Harris to be in the first one, but he didn't because of he didn't want the movie to be too stacked with horror alumni. Like he already had enough with Kane Hodder, Tony Todd, Robert Englund, Josh Leonard, so on and so forth. Like that was his reason. I think I don't know. So she was going to be in the first one, but he decided not to. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts. I would have just preferred having Tamara Feldman come back, but Danielle Harris is Danielle Harris. She's horror royalty, so I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me and they prefer having her. And she does a good job as Mary Beth. I'm not saying she's terrible or anything. She's a great actress. She was a great actress at like 8 years old in Halloween 4. She was great in that. So yeah, this movie the movie picks right up where the last one left off. She gouges his eye out, runs off, gets picked up by Jack Cracker, played by John Carl Beekler, and he finds out who her dad is, and he's like, "Get the fuck out of my house." So you're wondering like, what's that mean? Who's her dad? Why is he so important? Why did he freak out? I like how he almost feeds her his piss. Like in the first movie, they talk about how he drinks his own piss, and they carry that into this one. He's still got the piss jar. He gives it to her. She's about to take a sip out of it, and I like that he actually finds Doug Shapiro's like camera, and he's like looking through all the footage, and we get to see Misty and the other chick, Julie. I didn't write her name down. But I'm pretty sure it's Julie, but we see them come back, and it's just more great bickering between them. So it's good to see them come back as a little cameo, and you even see Laura Ortiz, who played Ruby in the Hills Have Eyes remake, and she comes back into this franchise in part 4 as one of the main characters in that one. And then there's like this other chick in there who's butt ass naked, and she looks like she's underage, but she's not. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you're my teacher." I like the reaction from Jack Cracker. Like even he has morals, and he's like, "Ooh, this is wrong. Like this is." Mm-mm. And why hasn't Victor Crowley killed him already? Like he's been living in that swamp for how long? And he's like, I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't know who that girl was. Like begging for Victor not to kill him. Like I didn't do anything. It's like, well, you've never done anything anyways. But he's always left you. I don't know. Like why is he still alive after all these years? Who knows how long he's been out there, but he's built a whole shack, and I like that there's like gas mask and everything. He's like prepared for the end of the world. He's one of those doomsday guys. And his name really is Jack Cracker. It was said as a joke in part one. Like, really, that's his name? That's bullshit. But if you look closely, when Danielle Harris, Marybeth, when she's leaving, there's like a sign, like a post that says Jack Cracker right outside his house. So that's really his name. Jack Cracker. So and then he gets killed brutally. This is one of the best kills in the movie. It's so over the top. It sets the tone. It lets the audience know, who probably, if you didn't see part one, this kill right here just lets you know, like, this is what you can expect. This is what Victor Crowley is capable of. He just rips his intestines out. And for some reason, instead of like all of it coming out, it like gets stuck in his guts. So it, like he falls on the floor. He's like pulling him. And then he wraps it around his neck, starts choking him with his own intestines, and instead of the intestines like ripping apart with his grip, it's just very sturdy and strong. It's like bullshit. And then to add on to the bullshit, like that's not real. That could never happen. His head just pops right off. Pop goes the head, and blood just hitting the wall. And apparently they weren't allowed to get any blood on set that day where they were shooting, so that's why they had to take that artistic approach, like, oh, let's do like a silhouette kill, because they couldn't get the ground wet with blood. So that's why that kill looks that way. And yeah, his hair is missing still too. When you see him like pulling the intestine, if you look closely, his hair is still missing because he was lit on fire in the first one. But then his hair comes back, and it's never really explained why, but they elaborate on it a little bit further in part three. Like, he's a repeater. He, no matter what you do to him, you cut him in half, smash his head to a bunch of pieces, he just comes back in full form the next day, like the previous day never happened. Which means that, I never thought about this, that means he never even really recognized Marybeth, right? Because they have such a quick interaction at the end. So that means if he's a repeater, that his memory would get erased too, right? Maybe. So when he sees Marybeth at the end, it's not like, I recognize you from, yesterday or this morning when you escaped. And is he only a night thing? Every kill we've ever seen in this franchise is at night. And every time they go to the swamp, it's at night. They never want to go during the day when they can see better. They always go at night. And that's the only time he attacks. So is he a night creature? Is he like a werewolf, a vampire? That's just another thing I've always thought about. So, I don't know. They never really go into detail about whether he's a night creature or a day one. So yeah, and then we get Adam Green cameo. He's puking on the ground like Sarah Elbert in the first one, and then we see like this whole like death montage where you got B.J. McDonnell, who was the guy almost getting hit by the bus in the first one, who goes on to direct Hatchet 3, gets the axe right down the face. You got Shawn Ashmore from Frozen, that Adam Green also wrote and directed, getting his face cut in half. All kinds of cameos. And I love that when Marybeth goes into the voodoo shop, that Frozen is on the TV. Not just the movie, like this movie is in the same universe as Frozen, and you can see Parker, who survived in Frozen, talking about her lawsuit with the mountain. How she sued him for millions, and I'm never going skiing again. And then they even put this movie in the same universe as Behind the Mask. They allude, like some guys like, in my town, there's this guy named Leslie Vernon. And yeah, just all kinds of backstory. And Schneiderman, who is the goofy cop in Hatchet 3, he plays the pig mask wearing guy in the flashback in this movie. And he also did some work. He was part of the crew also in this movie. And he was in Frozen. Just all kind. The guy, is his name Chad in this movie? The guy with the really jacked up teeth who gets the boat kill. He was in Frozen as well. He was the ski lift operator. So all these familiar faces. It's always fun. Like, there's a bunch of like inside jokes and inside references. Like, Adam Green always brings back people from every movie. And so yeah, that death montage is fantastic. One of the producers, he gets like the stick through the mouth, and the one guy gets tackled and killed. Oh, Joe Lynch. Joe Lynch, the director of Wrong Turn 2, who also had a cameo on Frozen with Adam Green, he gets his jaw ripped out. Awesome. Just very slow and brutal the way it's done. And Parry Shen comes back as a twin brother of Sean in the first one. His name's Justin this time. And he's really the face of this franchise, if you think about it. It's not even Marybeth, because at least he is the same actor playing different characters, but he's in all four. Like Marybeth is in all four technically, but it's like a little cameo in part four, and it's a different actor in part one. So Parry Shen's really the face of this franchise, even though he dies in two of them. And I hope he comes back for the fifth one that they are planning. I heard they're planning at 5 and 6, and they might even take Victor Crowley out of the swamp. Maybe a Victor Crowley takes Manhattan. Who knows? So, and then we get Tom Holland, and we get Leatherface, uh, R.A. Mayhoff, however you want to pronounce that last name. I'm sure I butchered it. And then you get horror directors making little cameos in this movie. You got Marcus Dunstan, you got Mike Mendez, so on and so forth. There's just so many faces. You got A.J. Bowen, who went on to do other movies, The House of the Devil, You're Next. This guy has made a career since. And the guy, the chicken and biscuits guy, he is the Marcus of this movie. And this guy is here because he became friends with Adam Green because they met on Halo. Really? That was just interesting to hear. So, his chicken and biscuits song, and he just makes me laugh every time. Like when he's touching Danielle Harris's face, like, "Oh, make out with me," and then, so yeah, she gets this crew, and they're gonna go to the swamp again because what? She wants the bodies. Like, really? I'm sorry. I have to call bullshit. I mean, me personally, I would never go back for any circumstances, whatever. Like, she's so hell bent on getting the bodies back to give them that proper burial. It's so important. But it's like, really? Come on. Like, and why go during the night? It takes them all day to get there, and they get there at night. It's such a dumb decision. Like, they could have left at night and got there in the morning. Why weren't they thinking about that? I mean, it's just so silly when I think about it. It's like, really? And they do the same thing in part three, although they're just there all day collecting bodies that by the time they're done, it's night and it's too late. And you think, like, their guns are going to make a difference. It's like Marybeth has seen what Victor Crowley is capable of and the damage that he can take. She's like, I stabbed him, I burned him, I did this, I shot him, whatever. And he just kept coming back. And she thinks that's going to make a difference with all these guns, these amateurs who just sometimes shoot gators. And it's like, they're not really experienced hunters. They're shit shots. It's just silly. Like, you would think these guns are going to do anything, Marybeth. Get a grip. I mean, seriously. So, and then they arrive at night, and then we hear the daddy call once again, except it sounds different in this one, and this is the way it's going to sound in 3 and 4. They changed it from part 1, and I said in my last review that I prefer the ghostly sound of part 1 a little bit better. And so, and they changed some things about Victor Crowley in this movie that I'm not a fan of. This is my least favorite Victor Crowley look, and because, one, the eyeball, like, color. It's a little nitpicky shit, but it's so different to me. He has like a blue eyeball. Where did that come from? His hair looks faker than it did before, like the way it just sticks out. I'm just not a fan of the way the hair looks. And then I'm not a fan of what they did with the shoulder appliances, the makeup there. It looks like these shoulder pads he's wearing. It's so different that I just don't like it. Even the skin tone is different. And we find out that he's half black, so I guess that's the explanation, but he looked darker in the first one. His skin tone in the first movie was a lot more like gray, black, like dark. I don't know. It just looked, I don't know, it was a weird skin tone in part 1. But in this one, he's a lot more tan looking, like an orange, brownish, weird, like he's been out all day. Like, I mean, it makes sense. He's always outside. He doesn't really have a house with a roof on it. We saw that in part 1 with the rain coming in. So, like, but yeah, he's half black, so I guess that's why they changed the skin color. But that kind of leads me to another thing I don't really care for in this movie is the exploring further into, like, his backstory. Like, he had a mom that was sick with some disease that was eating away her stomach, and then his dad, like a dick, was cheating on her with the housekeeper, not the housekeeper, but the nurse, the nurse, I don't know. And they're just banging in the other room, and then like as soon as she dies, like the second she flatlines, they immediately like celebrate. They're like kissing, holding hands. Such a dick move. And then she just randomly wakes up from her death. Like she comes back to life just to put a curse. Was she that evil before she got sick? Maybe that's why she got sick. God knew she was an evil person who was capable of putting curses on people, and that's why she got sick. But like really, you're gonna curse the baby and cause all these other people over the next like 5 decades to get slaughtered just because your husband was cheating on you? That's that's a big penalty for such a small crime. It's like you cheated on me. I'm gonna put a curse on this swamp that causes anguish and pain for all kinds of random people who don't deserve it. And yeah, so I just don't care about this backstory. I liked it in the first one. I don't care about this further exploring of it. Doesn't really make too much sense. But I like how when she gives birth to Victor Crowley, just seeing the baby like makes her drop dead, and she has like that face at the end of the ring, like, oh. So it's like, ooh, that's silly too. Another thing they changed about Victor Crowley is the way he sounds. The way he sounds in part one is the best sound. In this one, he sounds like an animal, like a jaguar or some kind of like tiger sound. I can't really pinpoint it, but it just sounds like an animal, and I don't like it. That's just another thing that holds this one down. Like, these kills are fantastic. As a whole, they're better than the first one. You got twice as many and twice as inventive, but nothing compares to the Mrs. Primadio kill. That's always going to be my favorite. But this one has a lot of great kills and good things going for it, but they just do little things that hold it down below part one for me. So part one is still my favorite because I don't like the look of Victor in this movie. I don't like the sound. The characters aren't as funny to me. The first one has like the best characters. Victor Crowley, the fourth one, has a good cast of characters. They're very funny. But in this one, they're all very just throwaway, hardly any personality. You got the couple that, he's trying not to, bang her again. Like he's fighting the urge, like, no, I'm getting married, all right? Stay away. But she's persistent, and then she finally like gets him to come over, and they start banging in the woods. He gets his head chopped off as he's banging her, and even when he's dead, he's still screwing her. That's like the most hilarious over the top kill in the movie. And then she gets the axe right in the butt, and then right in between the tits, and we get like another like bucket of blood hitting the tree, just like in the first movie. And then you got like a mute character in this movie. Why is he mute? That's so odd. Like, really? Like, why does he have to be like, Danielle Harris in Halloween 5? It's not really an interesting character when he can't talk. Like, the only character in this movie that's even remotely funny or, interesting to me is just what's his name? Colton, the chicken and biscuits guy. He, like I said, he's the Marcus of this movie, so he's the comedic relief, and everybody else is just whatever, cannon fodder. And I love the first kill when they go in, the first guy who gets picked off in this group, Chad, who gets hit in the face 30 times with that freaking hatchet. And I just love that he chose to use the top of it, just hitting him over and over and over again. It's so mean and so drawn out, but very brutal. His face just turns into absolute mush. The other guy runs away, and then we hear like a Wilhelm scream when he gets pulled off the boat. And then his face just gets chewed up by the rotor, the blade, like Jason at the end of Jason Lives. Then when he pulls his head out, it looks so weird. And there's like an eyeball in the middle or something. I can't really make out what it is, but it looks odd. So Zombie, the character played by Tony Todd, I like that he actually has a bigger presence in this movie. He's the main villain, really, in this film. He has this theory that if Victor Crowley kills the 3 people who lit his house on fire, that he will have his revenge and go away. But we find out that that's not true at all. And then we get the 6-foot-long, 120-pound chainsaw that Kane Hodder just revs up their crotches, and then the testicles are hanging off. Fantastic kill. Just another brutal, awesome creative kill. All types of fun practical effects in this movie. No CGI that I saw. And then the sander that he used in the first one comes back, uses it on Sean. Not Sean, actually. Sean's twin brother, Justin, to the back of the head. Those spiders on him, I'm sorry, they look so fake. The big-ass tarantulas on his arm, they look like they bought that shit like a Spirit Halloween. But brutal kill once again, and even when he's dead, Victor's just like, one more time, and smashes his skull right in. And we get this big-ass like fight between Leatherface and Victor Crowley, and it goes back and forth. Like, he keeps getting the upper hand, and I like that. Like, it seems like, holy shit, Victor Crowley has like a formidable foe here for a second. Like, he's actually strangling him with like that tree branch, and then he kicks his leg in. Awesome, very gnarly, and then curb stomps, and his eyes start blinking. That's just silly. And then first, like, somehow zombie, he shoots the door and it like locks it. I'm not sure how that door works, but apparently if you shoot the door knob, it just locks it. But that door is so dilapidated and weak and busted open already. I mean, I get it, he's old, Tom Holland's character. He's already old, Uncle Bob. But there's no other way out of there. Like, he couldn't just like kick that door open. Was he that hurt? There wasn't any other exit. Seriously, whatever. That's just me overthinking it. Whatever.
Come on, you hatchet-faced fuck!
But he gets killed off camera. Buckets of blood splashing everywhere. And then we find out the twist that he wasn't her real uncle. And then we get this famous line that's in so many horror movies where they always go like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. They even said in part 1 when the rain was putting out Victor Crowley, Joel David Moore, like, you gotta be shitting me. And then why did Reverend Zombie even save Marybeth? Like, he could have just walked out and shot the door like he did and locked them both in there with that monster. And then he wouldn't have had to kill her. Like, he wanted all the blood to be on Victor Crowley's hands, but now you have to kill her because she's witnessing what you just did. So it just would have made more sense if he locked her in there instead of dragging her out. Which I just don't get that. And then another decision I don't get is that Reverend Zombie thinks that he has the strength to pull off Victor Crowley's head. He shoots at him and then throws the gun away, and he charges at him and like grabs his head like he's gonna like somehow pop his head off. Get out of here, Rob Zombie. Or not Rob Zombie. Reverend Zombie. Reverend Zombie, you're not as strong as you think you are. And then he gets hacked a bunch again and again and again until he's chopped in half. And then he gets his whole innards and like the muscle, everything except the skin pulled out. It looks like a vacuum that just, his head just shrinks right in. So funny. Such a very unique kill. I don't think you'll ever see this kill in any movie ever. This is like a Mortal Kombat type of kill, finish him. And then Marybeth kicks Victor Crowley's ass. She sneaks up on him, hatchet to the face, like the same exact spot that he still has like the scar for when he was a kid. Hits him in the same spot, kills him, and just keeps hitting his head over and over and over again. Does like a Tommy Jarvis at the end of the final chapter. Die! Die! Over and over and over again. That's how you do it. Why didn't she do that in part 1? Why didn't she do that? She should have taken that pitchfork from Ben and stabbed him again and again and again. Where was that courage and smartness in part 1, Marybeth? Where was it? And then she gets the shotgun, and we get like the typical, like, he's still kind of alive, his fingers twitching, and she's like, fuck you!
Fuck you!
Cut to black, another similar ending to part 1. And that's where it ends. And then, yep, I think I said everything. Yeah, poetic. It's poetic that he gets killed by his own hatchet, just like Jason got killed by his own machete. You see what they did there? Maybe that was on purpose. So yeah, that's the end of Hatchet 2. Let's go over my awards. The Hockey Mask Award for Best Character will be Justin, the twin brother of Shen, who was my favorite character in the first one, and the worst character in this movie for me is just John the Mute, because he's mute. It's hard to be an interesting character when you can't talk. And the Clapper Award for Best Scene in this movie is the fight between Victor Crowley and Leatherface, and the hottest chick is Avery. I do like that better than Baby Jesus. I do. In the Funny Bone Award for Funniest Moment, we'll go to Vernon and Marybeth on the boat when they first arrive at the swamp. And the best shot in this movie to me is the shot of Reverend Zombie when he says, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." And then he runs up towards Victor Crowley. Another good shot right there. And the Mr. Hat Award for Best Kill in this movie will go to Jack Cracker. It's so over the top. It's so Mortal Kombat-like and inventive that I can't help but love it. And the worst kill in this movie is the guy during the death montage who gets tackled off camera and we don't see what happens to him. And those are my thoughts on Hatchet 2. What are your thoughts on this sequel? Do you prefer it over the first one, or are you like me and you like the first one the most? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen, you can hit this like button, you can share with all your friends, and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.